All right, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens defense going up against CJ Stroud, and this Houston Texans offense should be a very, I think, fascinating matchup, and should be really interesting. Debatably the best defense in football going up against a hot young quarterback. So let's go to the chart that I always make. This is where each team ranks in specific positional categories according to PFF. There's an asterisk next to passing for Houston because for the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud missed a few games. So this is simply with CJ Stroud. He's the 14th best quarterback, but that's out of like 42 eligible quarterbacks. So that's worth noting. Fifth best receiving for the Houston Texans, so that's been great. But again, Tank Dell was a huge part of that, and now he's no longer playing for them. Second best coverage, though. So this is a Baltimore team that does not give up a lot through the air. And I actually think what's even more impressive about that is how much stress they sometimes put on these corners. They will blitz and they will put guys in tough positions. And a big part of it too is the safeties that they have. A lot of really good players who can come through. And even Roquan and Patrick Queen are, I don't even think debatably, it's the best linebacker tandem in football. So plenty of corners who can come through. Marlon Humphrey being the big name, but Arthur Millette, Brandon Stevens, and Ronald Darby have all put together good seasons, some unlimited roles, but still. Also, the pass rush for the Ravens, kind of underrated. That's been a real big aspect for them. They haven't always been a great pass rushing team, but, the addition of Clowney, and they have some other guys who can just be solid role players, like Kyle Van Noy and Odafe Owe, kind of being rotational guys, really does help out with this pass rush unit. Also, run blocking. This is probably the closest thing Houston has to an advantage because Baltimore is human in the run defense game, but still, it is advantage Baltimore as Houston 20th best run blocking and 26th running. So, to me, I still don't think that I would love that. If it's a mismatch either way, I'd rather be throwing the ball than running the ball personally. But of course, you're going to do both. But let's get into some film. Is there a way to beat the Ravens defense? Well, of course there is, right? These are still humans at the end of the day. There is still going to be a way to win. And also, slight corrections. CJ Stroud, after his performance, has moved up to 13th best after his performance last week. So 13th instead of 14th best, for whatever that's worth. But anyway, you have on this play, the Ravens will give you these opportunities. Even against Tyreek Hill, the guy who you're never supposed to leave one-on-one, they're leaving him one-on-one right here. Watch as when Tua takes the snap, he looks over in that direction, fires in that direction, and Tyreek Hill is doing what Tyreek Hill does. He's getting open. Again, you should never leave Tyreek Hill one-on-one. But I'm using this play to show that, you are going to get some opportunities with, guys one-on-one. With Nico Collins, that's the guy we're talking about, right? Nico Collins will have one-on-ones. And so that's probably what Houston's going to have to do. I think is hit some of those one-on-ones. Like as you see, Tua hits this one here, for Stroud and for Collins. They did hit those against Cleveland at times. That's what you're going to want to make sure you're able to do. Even something like this. So this is that, Cleveland game for the Texans. And I should mention, I already made a video talking about the other side of the ball for these two teams. So check that one out if you haven't already. But I mentioned it in that video. I'll mention it here as well. These teams have played each other this season, but it was all the way back in week 1. And I don't know, quarterback making their first ever start. I don't know how much stock I take out of that situation. But anyway, back to this play. Dalton Schultz is going to be the guy on a 3rd and 5 in a one-on-one matchup. Same coverage. Again, Ravens will do this. They'll play some cover 1. They'll blitz you and sort of force you to throw it up. And they trust that their corners can win because they can win, right? On this one, you're going to see that Stroud takes the snap. He is going to fire before getting hit to Schultz, and there is a window here. Now, Stroud had to make his throw under pressure. His throw is a bit too far there, so, that's tough. There was a little bit of a window. I do wonder, though, with the Baltimore Ravens, and quite frankly, I just think it's true that, they have guys who can cover. So you're going to need to see someone step it up if you're, a Texans fan. And I think that it has to be the guy who's been stepping it up all season, Nico Collins. Schultz, was able to make stuff happen in that game at times. But again, if it's, Kyle Hamilton covering him, or if it's, Geno Stone covering him, or if it's Patrick Queen covering him, I don't want to say Schultz can't win, because he can win. He's a good player. He can make it happen, but just not as often as you're used to him winning. It's Baltimore, right? the mindset for Houston shouldn't be, how do we score as much points as we always score? The mindset should be, how can we just get some points on the board, and you get as much points as possible given the circumstances. And a play like this is maybe a key way they could get some points on the board. So this is a 3rd down and 9 situation for Houston. And this is a little bit different. This is a zone coverage play, which, listen, the Ravens will still play zone coverage. But the main reason I want to show this play is, look at how when it begins, you see Stroud takes the snap, he looks over the middle, and he doesn't love what he sees. And to be honest, this is something we might see, we'll see at times, right? We just will. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe guys will get wide open. I will say, I did not expect guys to get wide open against Cleveland, and that happened. So we'll see, although the Ravens play a lot more man, so I don't think there will be the blown coverages that Cleveland gave up. But again, could be wrong. Who knows? Predictions are impossible, right? I'm just doing my best here. Watch as Stroud is going to eventually scramble out. He makes a move on Josh Allen and is able to get outside the pocket. And in this scenario, it's zone coverage, but whether it's zone or man, you see Stroud keeps looking down the field. And if it is man, you do have to wonder, could there be kind of a Nico Collins down there somewhere if it's a one-on-one matchup in the end zone down the field or something like that? This time, Stroud instead decides to, make a move, and actually does a pretty good job of getting like 7 yards or so. And again, against Baltimore, if they're playing man on some of these plays, well, then you could have room to run because everyone's watching the guy they're supposed to cover instead of watching the quarterback, right? So that's another just interesting aspect in all of this, is the legs of CJ Stroud, I think, could come in handy. Another just, I think, interesting thing to note here for Baltimore is they love turnovers, right? They're big on generating turnovers that, confuse guys, make stuff happen. Well, this play, which got shared a lot on Twitter because there was the whole J.J. Watt versus PFF controversy about the C.J. Stroud game and, against Cleveland. I don't know. I think C.J. Stroud's really good. I don't get why everyone's freaking out over him only being graded really well in that game instead of amazingly well, whatever. I thought, fine. But I get it. It's fun to say, screw them. They should, disrespect my quarterback, whatever. Let's get back into the footage. This was the play that got shared a lot because it's one-on-one matchup, 3rd down and 4. Stroud is going to take the snap. He, looks over the middle. He fires over the middle and just didn't read the safety on this play. So the safety is coming in. Again, Stroud, I feel like once every 3 weeks he'll have a throw that reminds you he's still a rookie, right? It's oh yeah, he is still a rookie. And I should mention, Tom Brady will make these mistakes, last year, right? Veterans can make this. But as you see, that was, very close to being intercepted. Not an ideal play by Stroud. I'm not showing this play to say that Stroud is bad at protecting the football. He's actually really good at protecting the football. He's been great at that this season. Maybe not quite as good as some interception stats would have you believe, but even advanced stats would have you believe that he's been very good at protecting the football this season. But Baltimore is the kind of team that you don't want to even have 1 or 2 mistakes in a game because they'll take advantage. But also for Baltimore, if they're not getting those mistakes, will they be able to get those stops then? Because that's a big part of their defense. It's really just a fascinating question mark I have that I really don't know the answer to. Because again, predicting turnovers is nearly impossible, which is part of why it's so hard to predict football games in general. But okay, predictions time. You see a lot of low numbers here. So Baltimore's season defensive points per drive was 1.39, by far the lowest in football. I mean, that's an absurdly low number, quite frankly. The Houston offensive points per drive is a bit on the low side as well, with 1.89. It's not horrible or anything like that, but just a bit on the low side. But again, they were missing Stroud for a bit. Also, it took them a while to fully get everyone going. So, usually with everyone healthy, they're better than that. Also worth mentioning, though, not everyone's healthy. No Tank Dell, no Noah Brown. They're missing key guys here as well, which just sucks. But, it is what it is at this point. The previous matchup, it was just 0.82 points per drive, which, again, week 1. How much do I pay attention to that? That being said, though, it's the Baltimore Ravens. Listen, I picked against the Texans last week, and I'm going to be closer to, the Texans this week than I was last week. Partially just because I don't want Texans fans to get super mad at me if I screw it up again. But, I'm sorry. Baltimore has shown so much. If I'm wrong, use that as a positive, Texans fans, and say, wow, look at how promising it is that we were able to do this to back-to-back defenses. I mean, really, what a tough draw for C.J. Stroud in his first playoff games, going up against the second-best defense in football, points per drive-wise, and now the best defense in football, points per drive-wise. But just because he tore apart the Browns defense doesn't mean he's going to tear apart the Ravens defense. I am predicting 1.7 points per drive, which, again, I should mention, is very much on the high side compared, going up against Baltimore, right? That's still a good day against Baltimore, although not a good day for what Houston standards are. And again, could I be wrong? Of course, that's part of what makes predictions fun. So this means my final prediction, I am going Ravens 26, Texans 20 here. I am predicting a Baltimore victory. Sorry, Texans fans. But again, it's no disrespect to the Texans. And I'll say this. I think the line right now is -9.5, something like that. That feels high to me. I don't know. I would take the Texans to cover a 9.5 point spread given what they've done. But Baltimore's just so good. I can't bet against Baltimore. I just can't. I'm picking Baltimore. And Houston, if you pulled us off, well, congratulations. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.